Welcome to Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. Join Janet and her friends as they gather at the intersection of consciousness and self-experience, what being consciousness in human form is all about. Access heart-centered awareness with them and feel the difference in the moment that will last a lifetime.
Hello, and welcome to Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. I'm your host, Janet Barrett. Thank you for joining me here in our state of being present. It is here that we let go and experience the spectrum of all that consciousness encompasses, in form and out of form. For those of you new to being part of this podcast, we do this with a simple shift of focus. That's all it takes. No dogma, process, or ritual space. Just a shift of focus from our outer sense of self to our inner authentic being. Spirituality is not separate from us. When we allow it to be a seamless shift, it is the truth of our being playing out as our sense of self. We are looking for enjoying that authentic voice, filled with connections of senses beyond our description. Consciousness as a sense, not only state. Time as a sense, not only fixed. Space as only a sense, not only destination. Here we are free to just be. Breathe easily and feel the breath through your heart, the pulse of life. Free of our limits that consume and dictate our daily lives, often in destructive patterns and beliefs, because they hold unawareness as an organizing principle. Our limits create habits, our emotions create states of reference. Pretty soon, being present and open to our internal environment and wisdom is conditionalized and dumbed down. As adults, we find ourselves directed away from our own inner voice of awareness and subject to other outside voices as more important, just like how we learned as children. We are not those voices. We are our voice in connection to those voices. At times, being present may provide an opening into being that feels like a plunge into cold water at the beach or pool. After the initial shock, we start to orient anew. We may not like the feeling initially, as we think the water will be cold, but it gets us activated. And when we come out, we very much appreciate the warmth of the sun, the towel, the breeze, and feel revitalized. Sometimes being present can be that way when you're used to conditioned feeling and not being awake. Being present, being in heart-centered awareness, the field of unified consciousness, takes no effort. It is simply connecting again with what is already present within, your essence in communion with other essences as one. My conversation today is with Caitlin Hayes, psychic attorney. Our topic is consciousness as the business model. Do we relate our working environment with sanctity, respect, and appreciation? Caitlin Hayes, psychic attorney, executive coach, and business consultant, joins me about this perhaps revolutionary awareness. How do we get from here to there? We will share about what we each can do about integrating awareness into corporate, law, and family business cultures. Our language is the feeling of fire as vitality, enthusiasm, passion, clear direction. Accountability. We all know accountability. It is the taking of responsibility of one's actions. Can feel good, and then it doesn't always feel good. We learn at an early age what happens when we admit to actions in the existing emotional terrains and attention. Often, lying or denying come into play for some. And then there's business. Business is an organization where people work together. In a business, people work to make and sell products or services. A business can earn a profit for the products and services it offers. The word business comes from the word busy and means doing things. It is work on a regular basis. I met my guest, Caitlin Hayes, over my LinkedIn newsfeed. She had posted something that caught my eye, and I posted a comment. She replied back, and I thought her awareness and similar but different language would offer us wisdom about the business world that we could all benefit from. Caitlin is intimately familiar with what she calls spiritualizing her perspective in order to come to terms with and then thrive from some of life's extreme challenges. As an attorney, leader, single mother of 5, and author, with also radio host in her titles, her synthesis of actual principles into rational implementation comes out of her own experiences and values. She has been able to align her artistic nature and expression as model, dancer, and writer with her intuitive awareness of spirit and engage us with her passion to help herself and all of us with being present, to help us foster our connection and respect within ourselves, each other, and our planet. She supports executives, family offices, high net worth individuals, and closed corporations with conflict resolution, team building, and vision curation. Offering a unique blend as Caitlin, she engages both her readers, listeners, and her clients to re-perceive their experience as one, spiritualized. This helps to decrease anxiety, stress, discontent, and eradicating fear from our lives. The healing that is inspired through accountability of actions, thoughts, and deeds is profound. It is the path to inner peace. Oh, and welcome, Caitlin. How nice of you to join us today.
It truly is my pleasure. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Oh, that's great. So we're going to talk about, you have this title, Psychic Attorney, and we'll get into that. But everyone, right now, I want you to stop a minute. We've been noticing different things, and the show is always about different levels of energy, but it's always about authentic voices. So we're going to enjoy the next hour together here, and just drop into your awareness about being present. There we go. And that gives us a starting point about what we're looking to and what Caitlin embodies and I embody about being authentic, coming from your truth, being able to hear your truth and be able to act on it. She and I have both had enough life experiences that we appreciate wholeness. That means the things that go bump in the night and then we're still okay. And oneness, where we all are shared genetic memory as a species and with all the other species and this planet. And this is where we reach that place. So thank you for joining us here. There we go. There it is. What are you noticing in this moment, Caitlin?
I'm noticing my breath. I'm noticing my heart chakra. And I'm opening up my heart chakra and inviting those that are listening to do the same and taking a few deep breaths into our heart. Just to activate our electromagnetic field in there. So I'm just feeling that activation in my heart. My heart breathes. Let your heart breathe. It's really important to do that. And then we can find each other from this place of heart consciousness as well. When we communicate, we can do so heart to heart.
Exactly, everyone. So she just pretty much said what I always say each time. So we're in like mind, which is very nice. So we're going to talk about consciousness as a business model, as the business model. And what that means for me, and I've been interested in this in such a long time, is that in seeing people in their integrity and being treated with integrity and respect when you're in either any kind of a business, and how we get such bad hype about business people through our cultures in different ways. And how do we bring wholeness? How do we bring... Oh, there we go. Yeah, let's bring that in. Whatever that is, we'll allow it the space. So... sanctity, respect, and reverence. what it would be like to experience that in one's office. What do you notice about that, Caitlin? Is it something that's out there on all levels, or are you finding that that's something that has to be introduced in the businesses you work with?
Well, interestingly enough, as a practicing attorney in family law, you don't often see these principles at play, to be quite frank. However, I implement them with my clients, and I do, try to support my clients to find the happy ending, the peace beyond the despair. So I really walk hand in hand in that. But the system is really antithesis to this. So certainly, if you're in active litigation, you get more clients if you're more aggressive sometimes in a general model. But in incorporating this consciousness business model into it, I think in the attorney field, the billable hour is one of the largest impediments to this, because we actually benefit by people's problems, and we can, kind of draw that out sometimes to bill. I mean, that's really what it is. Especially family law, because, you're billing on things that, are really like minuscule, but it's just this extension of the emotional pain body. And it's just, this is how it's playing out in legal trauma. Now, I do say that when I'm doing the other consciousness work, when I'm working with my clients in their spiritual development, this is refreshing, because the whole impetus, the whole bedrock there is that we are spiritual beings having a divine experience in this human form. So, there's that commonality there.
Right. So, everyone, just take time to notice. You've been in situations where maybe you've required a lawyer or felt taken to that place. And just notice, the past is the past. We can't change it, but we can change how we relate to it. And we haven't had a future yet. So the more that we work on being present and letting ourselves move out of our emotional terrain into the terrain of the all, and our spiritual orientations about being, resolution can happen differently. There can be an openness. If you go in with yourself loaded to take someone down, that's going to create a certain dynamic. And if you just can back off from that, and if you're fortunate to have a lawyer like Caitlin, who appreciates the emotional terrain and knows how to get it to ease up a little bit, results are different. We have no guarantees about anything, but it's about yourself.
Well,
so
it's
just
really
notice.
Oh, yeah, so go on. Excuse me. I just had to interject for your moment. Because, it's interesting because, I see myself as an aggressive peacemaker. So I will be very frank and say that there are certain instances when you are in a consciousness business and you have to eradicate that around you, that which is not consciousness. And you have to stand firm in that process as well, and that spiritual warfare part of it. So depending on where you're falling, if you are a leader, then sometimes you do have to be in that kind of force field of pushing back and pushing back that kind of demonic thinking in the lower vibration, just to assert your command, your presence amongst that pain. I think as we all emerge as spiritual leaders in all of our varied professions, we're going to see that this is also part and parcel of it, because we don't want to retreat either. And if the situation doesn't allow for that, sometimes we have to stand firm. We have to stand up for people. We have to stand up for situations, stand up for what's right. So, sometimes it's not just all kumbaya. We have to be active spiritual warriors. I see that all the time.
Okay.
But ultimately, right, we go back to the state of presence. But, presence in this society is not something that still happenstance normally. So we have to be working towards creating that, and that creative model. We have to be evolving, expanding into that, and that means expanding into our truth and not dimming to fit in. So not sharing a spiritual truth because you're worried about offending somebody. You have to be true and authentic to yourself, right?
Right. I think it's the quality, the context that if you're going to be a spiritual warrior is held in, right? If you're in your truth and you're not pushing agendas, but you're there and it's strong within you, it's focused within you, and We're looking to how to make it work because we co-create always. We are always in relation, is my awareness. And so in our co-creation, what is it we're dealing with? What are we creating? How much each is in their story and they are interacting? And then where that can come apart, where that can be different, where it doesn't have to be. So let me see. Yeah, it's I think it's just a viewpoint, it's a place where you hold yourself to be.
Well, right, but the reality is that we're all still healing. So we're going to have these trigger situations that come up for us in order to expand more and more in consciousness. So
Right. I don't question that at all. That is about wholeness, It's just in what context you are with that, right? So, and it's important to know how to take care of yourself, and we will be pushed to do that. Yes, I don't question that at all. And it's just how we utilize it, right? It's if you're not in an emotional place about it, that you can do it where there's intent to hurt or to harm. It's just about being in your integrity.
Right, not to harm, but sometimes not to be harmed as well. And that's, I think, it can be a slippery slope as we're evolving and we're learning our healing and our energy field.
Caitlin, you're in the business world. You've seen a lot of different ways that people have their business models. Are you seeing where people want to be engaging what you're presenting to them? Is there a real nourishment that needs to take place here that to be fed, or?
It's interesting because I'm an international attorney by trade, and I've lived all around the world in different cultures. And most recently, before my children, was the Middle East. And, dealing with people that have a religious background, you really do find you can meet minds more readily. So in the communities that are actively involved with God, you can set intentions, you can, pray. So, some communities and some business models, ranging in the breadth of business, what it could be, varying to the participants of the business. So the religions, the cultures, some are more sensitive to these truths than others. As a rule of thumb, if you are looking to do business abroad, you should try to align yourself with cultures that are interesting to you in terms of your integrity with your energy and your interplay. So no, you see it with certain people that are kind of, peak performers that are just on this type A situation where they are working so high level that they are really connecting so intently to the flow, and they're producing kind of God level outcomes because of that. So exercising, yoga, a lot of healthy foods, wellness foods. I'm vegan myself as well, so I'm always an advocate of the vegan foods because, if we're engaging in the industries that are outright sexually assaulting animals and kidnapping them and stealing the babies and everything, how can we really expect that that's not going to affect our energy field? Because it does. So, you can go from the vegan to the Islam to the Jewish to the Chinese, and there's a lot of different opportunities and shortcomings in some of these things. So meaning that if you're starting with an A and an A where everyone believes that there is one God, you're already halfway over the bridge in that sense of, even if people don't believe it, at least they were taught to maybe think that that's the right thing. So you find commonality where you can find commonality, but ultimately, as we know, people can be in these lower vibrations of greed and wanting more. And I think it's really just the return to this unconditional love ideology that once you can stand in that truth, then you can invite other people into it, then you can be the one orchestrating a higher level business deal yourself. But again, this is a time where those that are interested in doing this conscious business, they have to be the leaders. You have to be a leader at this point because there's not too many leaders to emulate that are in the real world. You have a lot of these spiritual authors that have authored and they're doing speaking engagements, but I don't think you see them often in the boardroom, right? But it's in the boardroom and the lunchroom in your office and in your meetings that you can start to see the interaction. And often just people are feeding off of each other with their cyclical dysfunctional pain bodies. And it's just repeating the scenarios because energetically we're off, and energetically is where we have this call to vibrate at the higher level. So We're not in a martyrdom idea of spirituality where, oh, I'm going to turn the other cheek. No, it's not that either. You have to assert yourself. You have to feel safe to be in a state of alignment with yourself, aligning your values, aligning your friends and your family. I mean, people are still living out their parents' stories. So that's the first thing I say with my spiritual clients is that where are we with your parents? Because we have to overcome our parents before we can do anything else, truthfully. So, people are living out their mother's stories with their cubicle partner because they haven't healed that yet. So it's just this call to deep healing energetically that we have to make. And we have to be leaders in that because this is a journey that sometimes you have to take alone until you can get over your story and then meet the other like-minded people. But, as you know, and as I know, my story to God was one that was quite alone and, kind of abandoned by human people. So you go somewhere else, right? So, it's really is these lone warrior type situations where you end up getting a great glory so long as you stay on path. But we are all responsible to be on path. So the idea of victim ideology is gone. The idea of blame is gone. And we're standing in a full state of accountability. And it's from that place where we can start to see these industries really change as our leadership in ourselves change.
And do you see it changing?
I certainly do see it changing. Well, my whole experience is changing. So in my hologram, everything is different, right? And I'm a leader, so I know I'm doing my part. So as far as I know, I'm good with God because I'm working towards this, creating these situations for other people and holding that space for them to know that they don't have to be a victim. Because with energy healing work, I've been really standing some very sacred spaces for my clients to really effectuate health miracles, financial miracles. We work with miracles. I work with the Lord and our angels and our guides, and I help people to reclaim their energy. So from sexual healing to, emotional abuse, we have the power to command our energy to heal itself, but we have to know that. And so giving people that invitation just by standing in that state of presence is how we invite these other opportunities inward. And then the other ones are just going to fall by the wayside in this new earth and these new vibrational realities that we're entering into, right? So it's going to be dualistic. It's more than it is perhaps for some time, but we can just be working on what we're creating through our leadership, through our actions, through our sense of peace, through our accountability of what we're doing. Are we helping the planet? Are we helping other people? Because there's no free rides to heaven. There aren't. Everybody has to do the work, right? True, not true. You can't.
Everybody has to do their work. And that's the truth of it. All you and I, or any of us who do this, is we can offer guidelines, we can open up possibilities, and it's always within each of us what we're going to choose because we're all self-directed. We're individuals in the sharing of consciousness. So just everyone notice.
If I may just interject one thing at that point, because the problem that I understand it and I'm very empathetic to is that people are such on autopilot that they don't even have their free will again. So it's not as though we live in a free will society. It's that people are now addicted to their phones, still stuck on the suffering of their parents, and they're so on automated pilot that they have no idea that they need to reclaim their free will. And then ultimately your free will really must be relenting to a larger plan. So there's all these kind of conundrums and curiosities that you have to keep exploring, keep experimenting with on your own spiritual journey. So that's opening up to invite people to just take their spiritual journey is, I think, one of the most profound things we can do as healers, holding the space for people. It's just to create the space of you are a spiritual being having a human experience. So what are you going to do about that? What's the plan? You know what I mean? What are you going to do?
Okay, everyone. So just be listening. And you can feel Caitlin's passion. It's very present. And her enthusiasm. And sometimes in this work, we want to tend to sit back or something. But she's asking you in your own time and space to consider and to move through. And I think if you're listening to us, you already appreciate that you are on your journey and how you want to do that. So just notice where you could use a little more enthusiasm and fire. We can all use it. It's how you use it, what's important to hear. So in terms of business then, Caitlin, you've got a world perspective. We have businesses operating out of their own little neighborhood. They're going to maybe their customers be in lots of different places. So I have often heard how languages don't always translate. When we call a product something and you send it to a different country, that name doesn't work. I mean, we're all familiar with those kinds of stories. And then also what you're bringing to mind is the awareness that values can be different. And so we need to be more open and present when we're dealing with others. And it is good for the feedback from someone else who isn't in their bias like you are in your story, that can add, oh, all right, this is what I heard. Is that what you intended, sort of thing? Really has a lot of place, I think, in business. And
it's when you're removing the judgments, right? You have to be removing the judgments.
Right.
That's the key, cross-culturally, cross-ethnically, cross sex orientation. This connecting to that one consciousness, all God mind, and seeing people as God can see them, and going beyond the story of suffering and meeting people on that level. This is how we effectuate this enormity of positive change that we're all seeking at a societal level.
Right. So when you're in your workshops, for instance, and is there a real split between how people perceive themselves to be and how they express themselves?
Sure, it's a self-delusion, right? It's a self-delusion, sabotage, and a lot of this comes down to, have you dealt with your issues of your upbringing? Number one.
Right.
This is number one. Right. Are you still living out your mother's story? So we have to start reclaiming and taking away and chipping away the stories around us. So in my workshops, using different techniques and using movement and using comedy and using music, we have that, we can get out of that storyline to get into the moment. Mm-hmm. And in the moment is when we can use our breath and we can use energy work to create the space between ourselves and the memories and the painful memories of lack and hurt and pain. And then through that process, we can transmute and alchemize that energy and alchemize our cellular memories and re-perceive what we've undergone from that spiritualized perspective of connecting to this infinite source and empowering us and drawing from this divine masculine energy, divine feminine energy beyond our conditioned parents' aptitude to love. Because truthfully, very few people are enlightened, and our parents probably weren't. So they
I'm sorry, I missed what you said there. They're what? Not what?
Most people are not enlightened, so you can presume your parents weren't enlightened, right? We can presume that there were conditions on love to you when you were a child, when you were growing up, and then you've relived those situations. So, doing that kind of work and reclaiming the energy work is very powerful and very life transformative. We can change the energetic imprint of our cells. And that's what I do. That's what I invite my clients to.
So do you have an experience that your students or what you call them in your workshop?
My clients, yeah.
Your clients, that they're surprised by themselves? Do they see the connection that, who they are showing up is as a result of the past that they're still in place with?
I mean, tremendous results. Yeah, I have a lot of reviews on my Facebook page. I mean, tremendous results. I'm holding the space for my clients to feel. It's the energy work because I channel. I'm a medium as well. So I channel information.
Okay, well, and I'm talking the client themselves. Are they're in awareness?
Are they in awareness of the work what we're doing? Yes, because I create a very safe space of non-judgment and really deep openness. So I'm inviting them into this space of sacred healing. So already the guards are down and we know what's going on. And also we've had the carrot and the stick because you have to know what your goals are. Your goal is to live in peace. Why? Because it's better, because you're not creating more pain and you're having more fun and living on purpose. So you're releasing the burdens of forceful living and you start to live in a free life and a free existence, which is what we all deeply crave. So you have to explain what we're doing this for And once you can create that carrot, then the stick of doing the work and confronting the pain is that much more interesting, that you're willing to do it, because it gets much harder before it gets easier if you're in some deep cyclical situations of dysfunction. But it's in understanding and having faith that through this too shall pass, and you shall pass into a new plateau and experience, then it's worth the while. Because people bury things under weight, people bury things under underweight, people bury things under exercise, people bury things under addiction. So, there's such density to the pain, and it's in our physical body that's created the density. So we have to work, and I work differently with different audiences and different clients. I'm a psychic. I read tarot, so I figure out what's cooking, and then I work according to who is in front of me, taking advantage of the resources I have available for me.
So what I'm getting a sense of is, no matter how big a company is, whether they've got five people or they've got 1,000 people, it is the one who runs it to the guy who's cleaning the toilet. For me, all those people have place. We're all in this together. And when the vision, when the direction is coming across evenly or equally or throughout, that one has value in being with this company, if one is respected in being in this company, and we just have to learn how we all have different positions within a company, but that that position is also respected. You know what I mean? Sometimes it seems, and I certainly in dealing with clients and things, is that it can get very, like, people aren't paying attention who need
it's
to be paying
convoluted,
attention.
right?
Yes,
The pecking order.
yes,
But
yeah.
interesting enough, as an attorney, I do corporate governance as well. And as a marketer, because I have a marketing background, I do brand integrity as well, and brand marketing and maintaining that. So it's the same idea in this corporate ethos. And whenever I have the opportunities with CEOs and board members, I'm always interested to go and support them. And what is your corporate ethos? And how can we incorporate from the larger, grander scale of who you're trying to be? Because bottom line is, it's coming through your brand too, and you're going to get the clients or you won't. So
right,
at the end of the day, this is all bottom line orientation. Obviously, I'm coming from the analytical, logical part of the lawyer, but the spiritual reality too is that people are going to resonate where they are, and what they see is authentic, is they're going to be more aligned to. So part of this is educating your employees and then ultimately your clients to this. But yes, every corporation needs to have a spiritual development part of that, and team building and creating that equality of consciousness, irrespective of the position, is a betterment for our societies. So absolutely, it's a workplace balance, and this should be required for corporations. This should be required to develop this. And ultimately, again, as we're evolving out of it, the companies that are going to be thriving are those that do take this into account. And they do understand the importance of developing their teams and creating a corporate environment that is sustainable. Just like the earth has to be sustainable, these corporate environments have to be sustainable. From the Me Too movement to women not getting raises, to not getting paid equally, to outright cultural biases in terms of like cross-border deals. So we have a duty to hold this space too for the corporations, and I'm always interested to work with corporations, anyone from PepsiCo down to the mom and pop store down the street. We all have this opportunity, because this is the science of getting rich, is we have to be helping our employees advance. And this is the depth and consideration of the advancement, because we have a duty as leaders to create that space for those that are even in the janitorial positions, that they can see that they can get forward. So everyone has to be in this mindset of advancing. So that's where this all kind of coalesces together. So opening up to workshops, having, happy hours or juicing hours where people are invited to learn more about team building and working and treating others as they want to be treated, and holding the space of education and advancement and enrichment. This is very valuable for our evolution right now.
Well, I think what we're noticing, that the work environment See, and I'm one. I don't change myself from my personal life to my work life. I look to be the same person, right? And I notice a lot of people tend to think in terms of their personal life and their work life. And what you're sharing with us is how our work environment is running based on our personal life, whatever that story is that you bring to it, and it plays out. It's a melting pot of different concerns we have in society, whether it's sexual, gender, ageism, different skills, and so you get paid more for this than doing this. I mean, there's lots of ways that we want to invite people to be appreciated for who they are, irregardless of what position they have. Does that make sense to you?
Precisely, and that's the ego-driven reality of the corporate competitive model, which is outdated and flawed, and it's not going to last more than what it seems like it's going to last, because all these other businesses are going to be much more powerful and accumulating so much more wealth because they're advancing and investing in their work, in their workplace, in their team. And the advancement of their members of their team. This increases stock prices. I mean, all the way through. So, there's a real monetary increase available for these, bringing in these consciousness principles of advancing and supporting people and learning and enriching and putting the phone down and listening and being present with each other. Because, we all have that duty to manage our screen time as well, because it makes people stupid. And it literally does. And so if you're watching the screen and you're watching that light, your brain isn't being activated. And, I just did a wonderful brain activation last night with some clients. We're working in the white matter of our brain and activating that. So we have so many potentials of psychic abilities and clairvoyance abilities. And we have to be creating our vessel to be porous and less dense and fluid to receive these new opportunities and experience.
All right. So everyone just notice there's a lot of intensity and energy here. So how you're relating to it, what it would be like to be in a state of appreciation at your office or your preschool, wherever you might be as your career or livelihood. And just notice, are these there? Sanctity, reverence, respect. Are you doing that with your colleagues? Are you offering that? Are you being that? And just notice, we don't judge at all. That has no place here. Can't change the past. But we are, in being present, letting go of behaviors and emotions and putting things in different context. So just notice if you can realize how your interaction with your colleagues is maybe reflecting old family patterns. I can guarantee it is. How does birth order affect us? It's very powerful. So what else do you notice about the world of business these days, Caitlin?
Well, I want to add to that is, how are you relating yourself to your business? How are you relating to your business goals? Because I run a group too on Facebook, and it's all about goals. What are your business goals? What are your creative goals? I'm also a model, and I do photo shoots, and I invite women to do photo shoots with me, and it's a wonderful opportunity for healing on such a deeper level. So, creative goals are very important. But when you're in that mindset of how are you engaging with your office mates, well, how are you engaging with yourself? How are you putting your goals forward? What are you doing this day to advance yourself and enrich yourself? So we can't be lazy and think life is going to happen for us, because that will never be the case. So we have to keep doing the work on ourselves to say, how are you relating with your own goal? How are you relating with your advancement? How are you relating with the triggers that come up for you in your productivity? Because that's also gonna affect how we can hold that space for other people. So again, thoughts, words, and deeds are your responsibility. Your thoughts, your words, or deeds are your responsibility. So I just think that shifting this idea from the victim idea into being an empowered person, whether it's in work or business, is mandatory. Because otherwise we're just talking. We can't get to the depth of the problem. That's why I love energy work, because I can get to the depth of the problem and we can change it. Is it? And it doesn't take 10 years. I had two sisters doing an energy energy session, and they both were like, it would have taken us 10 years in therapy to do what we just did. And like, it was a long session. It was like a 3-hour session, but still.
Right.
So, energetically, it doesn't take as long as the other stuff, but we have to be open to mutate our density.
Mm-hmm. So just notice, everyone. So what do you notice about business then? You hold out possibilities? Is the world going to hell in a handbasket? Or do you see that it's slowly changing and morphing, adapting from perhaps how it's been viewed in other ways in our society, and that maybe it's going back to being personal?
I think that telecommuting is huge, but people can't be working from home with a messy desk and a messy garage, So again, it's accountability. What is your workspace looking like? Are you neat? Are you organized? Are you imbuing that cleanliness and organization into your home environment too? So it's always going to get down to the individual. But I will say that I believe that things are changing because I'm changing and I'm changing the things I'm working on. So I stay within my purview of what my reality is, because I know I'm not going to get involved with the other stuff. I don't really watch the news, even though my background is international politics, international law. Pretty much I know what's going on, but I don't really get involved because it's the same story 20 years later, 10 years later, same story, different characters. So ultimately, what are you seeing? What is in your hologram, and nurturing and developing that, and just staying with like-minded people, because the haves and have-nots are not going to be the 1%, which is its own delusion. There's infinite amount of abundance. There's no 1%, 99%. That's a delusion. Another limitation of divide and conquer. So if you're worried about who's pro-life and who's pro-choice and who's pro-Trump and who's not pro-Trump, and you're just looking for divisions everywhere you go, that's all you're going to find is divisions. And you have to bring this. We have to really, people are dividing and conquering. And in order for us to be in this new world, we have to be finding the commonality and working within that space. So that's why I just stay in that space. I just stay. And whoever wants to come find me, they can find me there. And then I just work in my circle and work with God and just see what happens that way. But, I don't actively seek out the alternative competitive greed model. And I used to participate actively in understanding that, but it never jived for me. It was always very counterintuitive and confusing, really, from at a cellular level for me. So I went through my own struggles with that, trying to coexist in a system that was completely against my whole being. So, through that choice, you make those choices, and then you have to make the beds along with the choices. And sometimes it's a slipperier slope. However, then you have that freedom of, no, I've created my reality. This is the reality I choose, because it feels more aligned, and I don't feel like I'm hating somebody just because of their ideological position, because that's ridiculous. And that's all from these other things, which we can talk about in another class, another show for you. But ultimately, yeah, I believe that we're creating our reality in our hologram. So what's inside of you is what you're going to be reflecting outside of you in your experiences. So that's why we got to clean up the inside shop. Got to energetically change the memories, change the perceptions, change the pain, and turn that pain into unconditional love by merging it with this unconditional divine love energy outside of us, and then drawing that back inside of us, in our chakra system, in our meridian system, in our energetic body, so we can literally transcend our experience and transcend our story.
That's busy. So I would refer to that in consciousness technologies as being able to notice the patterns and take them to a place where they come apart. And being in that state of this heart-centered awareness and consciousness, field of unifying consciousness, whatever your words might be, that being in the moment is where you change it. And that's what's happening for all of us. So everyone, I think you're getting a dose, a really compressed dose, because she's got so much there to offer about the power of compression and condensation, and how to move all this, and what would it be like? What is it like within yourself to feel a shift that takes you from where you thought you were and takes you someplace of freedom? Because we're talking about freedom. Not to be following the dictates of family patterns and not to be following the dictates of necessarily belief systems, but to be in your own authentic voice. And so this is where we all come from. And it's in there. It just depends upon the level of awareness you hold about it. So it's not something you have to go get. It is already within you. And just being present allows it to flourish. And we have all these different ways and all these different voices that we are that share in this experience. So our languages may change, but ultimately it's all about what is not said. It's about what is felt. And we've been so fortunate to have such a variety of different guests who we all connect on that level. We so embody our passion about life. And we all want us to be here, if that's what we're supposed to do. We don't dictate how you live your life. We offer openings into what awareness can help you with, the quality of your life, the choices you make, and how to enjoy yourself, because many things will happen to each of us. Stuff happens. It's how you come out of it and what you do with it. So let's see, how are we doing here? How are you feeling, Caitlin? What are you noticing?
I'm very happy to be in this space with you and inviting your listeners to explore new realities, because as much as awareness is there, we have to have the willingness to confront the pain, because awareness is only skin deep if you're still living with a density. So if you're not exercising, you're not drinking water, you're not eating more of the fruit plant-based diet, you're not being aware of what you're eating and what you're contributing to with your purchasing power, then you're just living in a delusion. So that's why we have to break all the delusions as much as possible so we can get to the truth, where that awareness penetrates our thoughts, words, and our deeds. So I think that's the ultimate goal, is to understand our accountability in the consciousness pursuit and not leaving any stone unturned.
Okay. Let me notice here. So if you had a final, offer us a couple final this is interesting. Offering some final words for all of us, what would they be, do you think?
I'd say that one of the strongest opportunities I had in healing when I was in one of the darkest periods of my life were the Psalms. And I always like to encourage people to know that when they're in a trigger situation, when they're feeling the anxiety, when they're feeling this feeling of lack and something outside of you is bringing you value, this is how you start your practice. This is how you start getting accountable for yourself. So the Psalms is just a fantastic resource for all of us. It's the Old Testament. It's in all the major religions that we have, right? And it's just a great bedrock. So we have to build our bedrock. We have to build our bedrock of faith, because without faith, nothing can happen. So we have to have the faith that the pain happened for a reason, that there's more beyond the pain, and that those around us that perpetuated the pain, we're just at that level of consciousness. So we reclaim back our victim ideology in all areas and all spaces and time. And we work from this empowered state of choosing and seeking enlightenment and seeking compassion and seeking consciousness in all areas of our life. So we're not delusional. So we break the delusion.
So we speak those words from being, from within. They're not just words. They're energy. So is there a psalm there that you might close with?
I love Psalm 91.
Okay, what do you got?
Well, I don't have my Bible open, so you must just give me one brief moment. But I do have it handy. Well, it's always right around, but in the Psalm 91,
so
is one of my
community,
favorites.
Everyone, whether it's yours or not, just appreciate the references, right? Remember, man's interpretation is always subject to influences. So we stand out of that. We just allow ourselves to be present and notice information as it shows up. Not intended to trigger anything or And if you feel a trigger, and stop. Notice that. Choose a response. You have choice. So, anything there you got, Caitlin?
Yes, I do. I have the psalm here. So if you're ready.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, share it with us, please.
Okay, super. So Psalms 91, this is the King James Version Bible, but I'm sure every version will be just fine.
Okay, that's not the Old Testament, but all right.
No, but the Psalms is in the Old Testament, so it's in the Old Testament part of the Bible, right? So, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High, so the secret place of the kingdom of God is inside of you. So reclaiming that, first and foremost, is the utmost of importance, right? He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will save the Lord. He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in him I will trust. Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler, and from the perilous pestilence he shall cover you with his feathers. And under his wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, the Most High, your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Amen. So this is a call for faith. This is a call for faith outside of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And once we make that commitment, then the path becomes easier to take.
All right. Thank you so very much, Caitlin.
It's really
been lovely to be with you. It's been a pleasure. All right. And thank you so very much.
God bless you. Take care. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Caitlin mentions a powerful source of alignment for herself in Psalm 91. Jewish tradition ascribes this psalm to Moses, with David compiling it as the 91st psalm in his book of Psalms. This psalm has since become a regular vital part of Jewish and Christian religions as part of their liturgies. I like this excerpt from Caitlin's book, Let Your Heart Breathe, available at Amazon. We hold the ability of healing through self-revelation and honest introspection of how we are responsible for the world we live in and the experiences we have. And here are a couple of other business consultants' awareness of what is possible in our business models. Spiritual people sometimes forget that it's impossible to run an organization without structure and financial control. Business people sometimes forget that it's impossible, or at best grossly inefficient, to run a business without spirit. That's James A. Richer. And here from MIT's Sloan Management Review. And a note, spirituality is used generically and not as religious dogmas in the following statement. People are hungry for ways in which to practice their spirituality in the workplace without offending their co-workers or causing acrimony. My intention with this episode's topic was to explore how our interpretation of consciousness is playing out in our business worlds these days. Here in the U.S., we're looking for new approaches in government in our last election. Many hoped a businessman would offer something new to the business that government is. Not a bad idea, and yet I guess it just depends on the kind of businessman you elect. Our actions have created a transcending opportunity of potential in action, as it shines a blinding light on our darkness within. Consciousness is inclusive of all, So it comes down to each of us and our orientations of being with ourselves, others, and this planet. The senses of separation we feel inside are being played out in our business cultures of supply and demand, and how we get more of what we think we want in this moment, which is different than what we need now and in the future. There are many considerations that come to mind about business as an organization of people working together. Most of human endeavor can be regarded as a business. How we are working together is the issue. Doesn't matter if it is the mom and pop store, big box department store, or our government and its branches and partners in this small world. All will be conditioned by those involved in the process. The resulting expression as product or service will reflect this. You hear the phrase working relationship, which will always reference not working relationship into the equation. There is a lot of this present in ruling either by dictator or groups of interest currently. All too often we are being shown how many of our business models lately are reflecting our feeling of disconnect with all. We are having to ask companies to be more responsible in their interface with all of us, be they the media, Facebook, Walmart, or our bodies of Congress and the White House. Where do our tenets of being come into play? I'm not talking about religious dogma. I'm talking about treating all with oneness as basis, our shared connection. The offering of respect, appreciation, and gratitude, no matter the face. It is okay to have a different viewpoint or orientation than another. Life is a spectrum, after all. But being in judgment of that face is not enriching any of us and is a destructive path to follow. Standards and practice of do no harm, only help, treat others as you would like to be treated yourself often disappear when up against the drive of business, survival, money, or power. Our great ideas and ways of being helpful get compromised. Personal or corporate reasons move us to take actions not always embracing others, but as adversarial. Could be your competitor or even your family. If we are in a state of fighting for our job or jobs, the work environment becomes compromised. Just because one has a good idea that fills the need well does not make one a business owner or partner in successful relations with others. As a business owner of any kind, how you treat others starts with yourself and reflects in your employees. If you are an employee, same goes with your colleagues. How are you using self-care? Is this even a concept in a business role? If your idea of self-care is measured in the number of bottles of beer or wine you consume at night, something is not right. No time to go on retreat or sabbatical? Then use your time in the bathroom wisely. Instead of daydreaming your stream, contemplate and appreciate your moment. Do you make it easy for your crew to share their awareness and needs they have at work and at home? How responsive, not responsible, are we with others? Being present is not a burden. It is not a call to arms to do something or make something right or solve. That will come out of our resulting inspired action. Being present comes as our response to first valuing ourselves and valuing others. Listening is what is important and often makes the difference in the outcome. Same as with our children. They need an ear and heart, not always you to solve the problem. Letting them become resourceful may lead you on a merry dance, yes, and will have its own rewards. A company is as healthy as the relation of the CEO to the janitor in the business. When both are being treated with respect, we all benefit. Anything else indicates a challenge for us to play with. When was the last time you told someone around you, "Hello, thank you. I appreciate you helping me out," be it at home or office? Being is the business model. I'm going to use Tom's meditation as our close. Calm mind, loving heart serves as a reminder of how when we are problem solving and focused on survival, our connection to love and compassion can take a back seat.
A meditation entitled Calm Mind, Loving Heart. Have you noticed that your capacity to feel and express love is inversely related to the level of tension in your mind and body? When we are problem solving and working on survival issues, the higher order emotions such as love and compassion tend to get squeezed out of consciousness. Our body-mind is designed to preserve itself as a top priority. If our evolutionary ancestor was being chased by a wild boar, his or her urgent need was to activate all body systems to move quickly to safety. It became necessary to breathe rapidly, push a quantity of blood through the muscles, and move those muscles powerfully. It was not necessary, from a survival point of view, to feel compassion for the boar. So now we feel anxious, our body activates as if it needs to flee or fight, and our mind becomes narrowly focused on the problem at hand. In this activated body-mind state, our consciousness is naturally less expansive and less open to the softer emotions. Nevertheless, this adrenaline-induced state of urgency is stimulating. We aren't bored when we're at risk of being gored by a boar. Consequently, our high-stimulus worrying and excitement can become weirdly attractive and even addictive. On the other hand, when our mind and body are calm, our hearts can open to love, generosity, and compassion. Love does not thrive in a tense body. When fear is present, love is restricted to the back row of consciousness. Peacefulness allows love to move into its proper place in the front row of the mind. Love is generated like heat from a flame when we are centered and aware. When a flame is small, the warmth is little. When awareness is narrowly focused on urgent needs, the warmth of love is little. As we increase consciousness, we naturally increase love. It's as simple as that. The open mind, the calm body, make available the open heart. In our busy lives, it's tempting to go after the stimulation of adrenaline to keep us awake and invigorated, but we risk being more irritable and lonely by making that choice. Instead, we can remember to practice entering a calmer, more peaceful state of mind. When we sit calmly with an empty mind, our senses become more refined, our appreciation of beauty deepens, and our heart naturally opens to loving kindness. Consider meditating on this affirmation. Peace is my desire. So I take time to cultivate peace. Calming my mind, I let go of active thinking. I breathe in peace. I breathe out all my fears and concerns. I release unneeded tension in my muscles. I sit without expectation. Peace is my birthright. I claim it now. In my calm, I grow strong. In my strength, I grow kind. I am aware. I live in beauty. Love shines in my heart.
Please email Caitlin at caitlin.esq@gmail.com for ideas, insights, or business ventures for upcoming or outgoing opportunities internationally, to retain her services, or to schedule a speaking engagement locally or abroad. You can also book her as a model for your next vegan brand campaign. Caitlin is available for coaching, workshops, and retreats. For upcoming events, follow her at Instagram.com/spiritualizeyou. Her published works, Spiritualize Yourself, the blog entries, and Let Your Heart Breathe, can be found at Amazon. You can follow her on IG at Caitlin Hayes Law, at Caitlin ESQ, at Spiritualize You, and at The Vegan Model, along with her radio show, Spiritualize Yourself, at Blog Talk Radio. And if you'd like more information about introducing consciousness as ethics in business, be sure to look at websites such as the Center for Visionary Leadership, www.visionarylead.com, and Conscious Manager, and that is spelled CONSCIOUS-manager.com. All links are listed on this podcast episode page at www.janetandbeyond.com. Thank you for joining me here at Journeys to Enlightenment with Janet. A new episode is released every 2 weeks. Any questions or thoughts or guests you'd like to suggest, you can email me directly at janetandbeyondpodcast@outlook.com. For more information about all the elements that make up each episode, they are on my podcast page at my website, www.janetandbeyond.com. While there, you will also find information about my other podcast show, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and all about my work with clients. You can sign up to receive my regular weekly blog, Life in the Beyond, Journeys into Enlightenment. If you're looking for other regular opportunities to sit in heart-centered awareness with myself and others, you can join us in my Fuzzy Photons playground groups I offer on Wednesdays. Live interactive space via Zoom video conferencing. You can follow each episode of this podcast series on my YouTube channel, Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Till the next time, notice what feels different right in this moment. It is real, and it can last a lifetime.